Hello, traders. It is Saturday, May 10th at 6:53 p.m. Pacific, here to talk about the week ahead for the coming week. Last week, I said that the bulls were starting to feel like they were a bit out of control, that this wall of worry that we've been climbing could turn into a FOMO chase. And that was really just brought on by the look of the April monthly candle on S&P 500 and QQQ, because it's got that huge long wick on the bottom that you've never seen before in the history of those symbols. So what did we get this week? We didn't get a FOMO chase. We didn't get bulls out of control. We got sideways. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, and I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. Generally speaking, when you get sideways, it just means that, the move that just happened needs to be digested. And after that digestion occurs, then it will resolve one way or the other. It'll either keep going up or it'll come back down, or, retrace a bit and then go further, whatever, we'll see. But really nothing happened this week. And we all kind of thought, I think we all thought, I definitely thought that FOMC would happen, and then that would be the thing that would kick the market into gear. I didn't think that there was necessarily going to be a rate change, but I thought maybe the Q&A after the FOMC announcement would bring on some sort of either hawkish or dovish comments by Fed Chair Powell, but that didn't really happen. It was all just sort of par for the course. It went exactly the way that people thought it was supposed to go. And so it didn't really change the market at all. And then what followed after the FOMC was headlines. And this is what we're seeing over and over again in this market, is that we get this headline-driven market where, we'll start to make a move in one direction, and then a headline will come out and it'll shoot price back in the other direction, and then another headline will come out and it'll shoot stuff down back again in the opposite direction. And what you get is essentially a chop fest. And so that's really good. Some people trade really well in that scenario. The wall of worry thing could happen. We could continue to move up, but we need to go through this digestion period. I think the big story of the whole week is Bitcoin. Bitcoin's kind of out of control. And so I think I should probably start the TA with Bitcoin. I'll do that in a second, but I just wanted to say that in the weeks leading up to this, my trading has been really, really good, and my P&L curve has been strongly to the upside. And then as of this week, it's seen a slowdown. And so it started with Wednesday, where I was trying to play a bounce on Google when it tanked on that news. And that was a situation where I let my fundamental analysis overpower my technical analysis, because, the announcement itself, I was like, why? Who cares? Like, they're bringing AI to everything. Why would that make such a big deal to Google? Why would Google have to tank based on that? Google has its own AI. And so I was just like, I sort of have a different take on it based on that market reaction. Now I really do think that it is a big deal, much bigger than I had anticipated. But as a result, I had a bit of a loser that day, which was not great for me. And then I think that was Wednesday, or was it Thursday? I can't remember. Anyway, midweek. And then on Friday, I had a really strong morning, and then I gave it all back on Friday afternoon. So that was frustrating, and that's not something I normally do. And so I think this is just a market where you have to seize your opportunities when you get them, and then be grateful for what you got. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be thinking about coming into this week. I do have a couple of trades I'm going to point out, though, as we get a little further along. So let's start the TA with Bitcoin. All right, on the Bitcoin chart, we're going to start here on the daily time frame. And, I could actually just put a really naked chart here, and I'll even hide all my drawings and zoom out. This is a daily time frame. I think this says it all. What more do you need to know? Up and to the right, that's what you want to see. And Bitcoin is doing it. And it's doing it at a time where the S&P 500 is doing this. And so that, to me, is worthy of note, right? Like, Bitcoin's stronger than the S&P 500 right now. And even QQQ, like Bitcoin, it's basically the same thing. SPY and QQQ are basically almost identical right now. So Bitcoin is really, really showing a ton of strength in the face of, uncertainty in the stock market, which is not normal. It's not typically in the past. We've seen when the market is in a euphoric state, then risk on assets like crypto can be in a very, very euphoric state. But then over the last few years, what I've seen is that Bitcoin tends to mirror the QQQ, the tech market, really. And now what we're seeing is a divergence again, where Bitcoin is kind of leading now, and QQQ is lagging. And I'm not quite sure how to interpret that, right? Like, is it actually leading and one's lagging and the laggard is going to catch up? Or is this a false move that, when the market, if the market is unable to continue up and the market rolls over again, is that going to cause this to then crash again too? And I think the only place we're going to really know, if that's going to happen or whatever is up here. And we need to see how price is going to react up there at these all-time highs. Is it going to push through with strength? Is it going to do like maybe a daily cup and handle type thing? 1 second. Something like, we've got this move here. Is it going to go like this and then up? Or are we going to just get a breakout and continuation? Or are we straight up just going to get a rejection? Who knows? We're going to see. But this strength is notable, and as a result, a lot of the names that are similar to it, or a lot of the crypto names, are trading really well as well. So MSDR obviously is a killer. It's been doing really, really, really good. And I tried to trade this week, and I did okay, but I forgot the spreads on this are just wild. I have a really hard. I like tight risk, and so when something is spready, I have a really hard time trading it. Anyway, Bitcoin out of control. Let's go look at QQQ. Everybody that I know is talking about this potential 4-hour rising wedge. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. I'll go on the 4-hour chart, make it clean. And this one. So, higher highs with no follow through. That's the definition of a rising wedge, and it indicates that price is, reaching an exhaustion. This doesn't really, in my mind, it just doesn't look like a pattern that I trust right now. I've seen so many rising wedges break bull, and I've seen falling wedges break bear. I played a falling wedge this week on PLTR that broke bear, and had a little loser there too. So I don't know. I honestly don't know what's going to happen. When I look at QQQ, what I really see is not the rising wedge. Okay, so we've got this balance here that has gone on for that long, right? And I'm imagining, what if we get the same thing? What if we just get more of the same on the other side? This does kind of have, I think I heard Shadow Trader say this, that it has a head and shoulders look to it. So, it has this down, head, other shoulder. It has that sort of a look to it. So that is on the table for sure. But I think that, I don't like patterns for the sake of patterns. This could be that. I just don't. I kind of just want price to tell me what's going to happen. And I do anticipate that, are these MA riders working? Let's take a look at that. Not really. We're dipping all around. We're going all around these moving averages. It's just kind of but it is a smooth move up. I just don't see. I need it to tell me what's going to happen. And really, I think we are. The last week has been balance. Let me just go zoom out again to that. So the last week has been balance here, right? Same way it kind of was over here. And that could go on for longer. We could get another full week of just balance. Who knows? But I think it's going to be important that if this does develop into balance, then what we're going to have is range tops and range bottoms. And what we're going to need to be watching is when we get a breakout or we get a breakdown, are those false breakouts, right? And if they are, then there's a trade there where if something breaks out, fails, and comes right back down into range, you can expect it to go test the other end of range, and vice versa. And so that's the kind of stuff I'm watching for this week and I'm interested in. I think there were a couple of names to talk about here. Let's see. Okay, here with PLTR, it definitely has that look of a cup and a handle. So that remains to be seen. And this is something that I've got on my watch list for Monday because it was an inside bar on Friday. It had this nice move up here on Thursday, came back in on Friday, and then held up into the top end of the prior day's range. So this is going to be a top watch for me coming into the week to see if we're going to get that push up. Next up is Tesla. So as I talked about before, Tesla has space to run here on the daily time frame. Don't know what that is. It has all this balance that we've been in down here, and then it's got this vacuum of trading here, right? So until we get back up into this zone here, there's basically some open air from basically where we are here at 300 up here to the 340s. And so that's a trade I'm very interested in as well. However, we did get a breakout on Friday that was immediately retraced back down below 300. So as I talked about before, balance rules are in play. And so I need to be watching this I'm really interested how it opens on Monday morning because I want to see where do we go pre-market. I'm going to be looking at this here on the 30-minute time frame with this indicator on. And I want to see, are we opening up above and trying to push higher? Because that's a clear sign that bulls want to keep it going, which that would be a super healthy move. Or are we actually going to start coming in and this was just a complete failure because we got a high and then a lower high and then it was trying to go up after hours, but I think we're going to see it's going to resolve on Monday one way or the other. And so this is what I'm watching for sure. And then finally, Meta I wanted to talk about a little bit because Meta was in the doghouse for a really long time here over the last few months. And then when earnings season happened, it had a really strong rally and it's up above the spike high back here from April 9th. And it's balancing just like all the others in this area from before. I did see here that this black line is a 4-hour EMA 12 and it's starting to curl over for the first time in a while. So I'm curious to see what are we going to get here? A quick dip and then more balancing, or are we actually going to get a rollover? Because I could see us doing a bit more balancing, and then if we came in and set a weekly high or low, if you look at this thing on the weekly, it's kind of a nice looking chart now. Hide my drawings really quick. So right now we had this high, this low, which you can tell already that's a monthly pattern. Let's look at this on the monthly. So we had a nice, very strong move up here, right? And I wouldn't even count this rinky-dink higher high and low there. I would just say this was the monthly higher high, this was the monthly higher low, higher high, higher low, deeper than before, but still monthly uptrend. And then, so clean monthly uptrend looking for highs further. But let's just go back to the weekly now. A quick weekly higher low, absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? Like if you wanted to come back in here this week, set another higher low, and then continue up, that's strong, right? And so this is back on my watch list. I'm really interested in Meta coming into this next week. I really want to see what happens. Are we going to bounce and chop sideways? If we get a significant pull in, especially if the whole market pulls in, and this thing is showing is pulling in but showing relative strength, I'm interested. I'm very interested. And likewise, if it actually starts dropping faster than the others, showing more of this weakness that it showed before, I'm really interested in that too, because Meta is a mover. So those are the main ones I want to talk about. No big earth-shattering things. I do want to also talk about some stuff that I went through this week. I talked about earlier how I didn't have the best trading week. Things started to sort of slow down to me, and so that's affecting how I'm going to be trading in the coming week. In other words, I'm going to be trading smaller size and taking fewer trades. Unless I see really solid daily time frame setups, like daily higher lows that are supported by the market. And by supported by the market, I mean like the market, say, if I'm looking for something to reverse and go bullish, I want everything to be going bullish with it, that sort of a thing. And that does speak to one thing. I record my screens every day that I trade. And one of the things that I do each day is review those trades and look at what I did and make note of all the mistakes that I've made and things that I could, or not even mistakes, but just things I could improve on. And one of the main things that I've realized about every single problem that I've had, every mistake I've made, every place where there was room for improvement, almost every time the answer is to be more patient. If I had just waited a little longer, I could have gotten a better location. If I had just waited a little longer, I could have avoided something bad that happened. If I just waited a little longer, I could have stayed in something and gotten more out of it, squeezed more juice out of the rock. And so that, I think, needs to be my golden rule in the coming week and weeks beyond, is that I need to be more patient in everything that I'm doing in trading. And so this week is a really good week to try to practice that. We'll see what comes. And to that note, I want to talk about this. Generally speaking, my best trades happen on the open intraday. And I have numbers to back this up too, but what I've seen is that the best trades that I get are initiated within the first 1 to 30 minutes of the trading day. And the best wins that I have are initiated then and last throughout the day, right? Like I get in and then I stay in. Those are the best. And everything I do after that just ends up cutting back from the winnings that I'd made. I never make any big wins after that. Or if I do make a win, it's offset by maybe 2 or 3 other things that I didn't make a win. And then I end up net flat or slightly green. It's just not worth it, right? And so patience. Just know where my best trade setups are, wait for them to happen, execute when they do, and be patient. Okay, so other things this week. Well, we have CPI Tuesday, PPI Thursday. That's definitely something to talk about. There's still going to be a lot of headlines. Every day they're coming out with new headlines about tariff resolutions and deals they're making with different countries. So that stuff's going to affect the market. All the more reason to be patient. Walmart earnings is Thursday. I tried to get into a daily higher low trade this last week that did not work. And I think it's because earnings is coming. And so it might get a little choppy in the meantime. But we'll see what happens after that. Okay, a few more things to talk about. My confidence level on the week. So when I say confidence level, I was talking to some people who watched the video last week, and they were a little confused about what I meant by confidence level. When I'm talking about confidence levels, I'm asking myself the question, how confident am I that a daily setup trade is going to occur this week or have follow through? Or a weekly trade is going to have follow through if I get into it, or a monthly trade is going to have follow through. And this week, because we're in that balance, I have very, very low confidence. Now, that can change very quickly. If we had a deep pull in, I love extension. I always want to buy when things are extended. So right now, balance is like the worst place for me to get into a swing. So if we get extended in one direction or the other, that's definitely my sweet spot, and this could change. But right now, my confidence on the daily, weekly, and monthly for setups to occur this week, very, very low across the board. So again, patience. This week, my simple statement for the week is patience while charts are in balance. It's a headline market. Be cautious of those false breakouts and reversals in either direction. And that's what I'm going to be thinking throughout the week. It's what I've got at the top of my trading app. It's what I'm going to be focusing on. Bonus. So I just today released a new version of my Day Trader Levels indicator. This is an open source indicator you can get for free on TradingView. It is, at this point, I think it's my most popular indicator. I have a few others that are very popular, but this one, people really, really love it. I personally can't live without this indicator. So very quickly, I'm going to show you what you're getting with that indicator. Okay, to get the Day Trader Levels indicator, you can just go up here to your indicators button, type Day Trader Levels, and you'll see the one here by J.M. O'Sullivan. That's it. Click on that. It's going to appear in the background here. You can close that window, and there it did. So you can see I've got a volume indicator here and the day trader levels and nothing else. So if I zoom out a little bit, you'll see what it does. The purpose of the day trader levels indicator, if you've never seen it before, is that it highlights from the prior day the high and the low of the day, and you see how it's got this, and then it puts labels on the right-hand side for what those levels are, and then there's a few other levels that it finds. It finds the opening print from the current day, the closing print from the prior day, and it finds the halfway point between the high and the low, yesterday high of day and low of day, the pre-market high and low. If you're on futures, it finds the overnight high and low, and then last but not least, to me the most important part, it finds the value area from the prior day. You see part of this area that it's highlighted has a blue background, and then there's a blue YVAL and YVAH there, and then here there's a YPOC. That's yesterday value area high, yesterday point of control, and yesterday value area low, and then it highlights the whole zone in blue. So with this new version of the indicator, I've made some changes. I'm going to talk about what they are. So as always, you are able to style, I've got these as the thick dark labels, it's just my preference, I like them that way, but you can change them to plain text if you don't want to see those big chunky labels. You can change the text size of the labels here. I'm not going to do that. You can change the offset. This is how far to the right of price it appears. Right now we're in after hours and there's no further action, so for some reason TradingView won't let me push those lines out further, but during the day it will push those lines 20 candles further than the current candle away, so you just get some space if you want it. And this is one of the new things that I've added. If you see the labels here, they currently have the current price level of that level. They have the label on it, YVAH, for this particular one, and then the percentage change, the percent away from price that level is. So this new label format input lets you change what appears in those labels. So in curly braces here, I've got price, colon, space, curly braces, label, space, curly braces, percent, underscore, change. And you can move those around or get rid of them. If you just want the label and you don't want the prices, you can just change it to label and then hit OK and watch what happens. Boom, there they are, just says the label. And if you ever want to change it back, you can just go, right, and you can reorder them, put whatever you want in there. The labels themselves, the text, the word that goes in there is based on these inputs here. And I know that some people like to call these levels different things. I call it yesterday high of day, YHOD, but some people call it PDH, prior day high or previous day high, or PDDL, previous day high, previous day low. So you can still do that, and it will change those. So this will change from YLOD to PDL. And then another thing that some people have trouble with is the session volume profile, the yesterday value area high, low, and the point of control. There is a lot of extra processing that the indicator has to do to determine what those values are and what those levels are. If you don't want those to appear and you want it to be a little bit lighter and load a little bit faster, you can uncheck those YVAH, YVAL, and YPOC and shade value area. If you uncheck all three of these things, that essentially is telling the indicator, I don't need that information. And when you do that, the indicator actually doesn't get that information. It doesn't process it anymore. So if I do that and then I save my settings, it will load a lot faster than it did before. So just another great little improvement there. And I think that's it. Yeah, the other change that's present is all these settings used to appear in the status line up here, and they don't anymore. So it's just it's a cleaner look here. If you have these expanded, you want to have them expanded. It used to have all this stuff's stuck. All the text from those settings would stick way out onto your screen. It doesn't do that anymore. I just cleaned it up. So I hope you guys like those changes. There's also a ton of other little minor changes to how it handles sessions, making sure that if there's problems with specific charts, it fixes them, because I had lots of people coming to me with specific tickers that were missing data and it was causing bugs. I fixed a ton of little bugs here and there with all the underlying libraries. So all in all, it's a much better version of the indicator. I hope you guys like it. I hope you enjoy it. Happy trading this week. Good luck. Stay patient, and have a great week. Hey everybody, if you like this channel and you like the indicators that I provide on TradingView, please remember to like and subscribe.